Yep, that is our studio audience.
Fabulous.
You're listening to Geek Vice, and I've got nothing witty to say, so take it away, Morph.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Geek Vice, a podcast by a couple of geeks just trying to be heard in a world now flooded with geeks. I'm Morph. That other guy you heard is Kip, but we have a special guest tonight. We have Christy, a.k.a. Angel Chris, on the line here. She's the Queen of Awesome. The Queen of Awesome is not your average geek. Her interests range from arts and crafts to baking to helping the world through different charities. Christy has an ever-growing influence in the geek culture, whether it's through her blog, her Twitter feed, or her Tumblr page. If that isn't geeky enough for you, she is an avid reader of comic books and has a love for TV shows like Doctor Who and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So everybody welcome Christy to the show.
Hello.
Hello, Christy.
Hey.
So we'll start this off. This is going to be a lot of you talking and a lot of us just listening to you talk. So
Because nobody wants to hear us talk anymore.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? It's so much fun.
Nobody wants to hear us. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Christy.
Dude, you just covered it. Man, I watch way too much TV. I buy way too many comics, or not enough, depending on who you're asking. I'm sure the guy at the comic book shop would like me to buy more. I play with a lot of yarn. Behind me, you probably can't see it very well, there is an entire china cabinet full of yarn and things to make yarn.
You make yarn?
I spin yarn. I even have a spinning wheel, and I have spindles so that you can do it yourself without any machine or anything.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother level right there.
It does take it to slightly nerdier levels, yes.
Impressive levels, though.
I could probably really bore you with talking about just different yarn types and fiber types and everything, but I'll spare you.
We'll save that for the end when I need to get sleepy so I can go to bed.
I can do that. I'll talk to you about my phone.
Oh man, that's just nuts. So you have like the whole like spinning wheel, like what was it? A Rapunzel? No, not Rapunzel. What was Rumpelstiltskin? Like that kind of spinning wheel?
It's a little bit more modern than that. If you look up, if you're at your computer, look up Louet S10, Louet S10. That's what I've got. It's a little bit less Rapunzel, Rumpelstiltskin-y. It looks more like Swedish furniture.
Oh wow. Okay.
It looks like you got it at IKEA.
Doesn't it? Even got that, what is that wood? Birch?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that smart.
Yeah, me neither.
That's cool. I gotta give you props for that one, cause yeah, I'm not doing anything like that.
Oh man, it's fun. And if you do like anything mechanical, I mean, there's definitely an aspect to that because you've got to be able to look at what you're trying to make and what you've got to work with, and you've got to basically put it into the machine to make it come out the way you want it to.
Wow, that's wow. That's all I gotta say. Wow.
Yeah, we're not used to hanging around creative people, so we've got nothing.
Yeah, I'm not artistic at all. I can't do anything like that. I can barely talk into a microphone, so. So, well, let's just dive right into it here. Let's start off with comic books because I know you're a huge comic book reader, and so, and on your blog you've put up like 3 of them within the last couple days, even.
Yeah.
So, what are you reading now, and what's your favorite book that you're reading right now?
Ooh, my favorite book is probably Hawkeye, which is ending. It's written by Matt Fraction, and David Asia does the art, and it is just great because it's, I love the character Hawkeye. He's just this guy who is a complete fuck up. Everything he does, he screws up somehow. I mean, he messes things up. I didn't,
Yeah, he's
if
almost
you
like
had a bet
that.
how long it's going to take me to do that. Someone just won. No, it's a very well done title artistically, and there's a lot of humor. Plus, there is also a female Hawkeye, who is a lot of fun to read about because she's younger and she's going off on her own adventures, and she's also managing to screw things up in her own unique ways. So,
Yeah, I've been reading those too, and I almost kind of feel like I'm reading almost like an Inspector Gadget type hero. You know,
the lovable
the
doofus that manages to make things work by sheer accidents.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
so totally Clint Barton.
yeah, it's great. I love it. I'm really enjoying it. It's kind of a bummer that that Fraction's stepping down from it, but you know, I don't know. I guess it gives him a chance to go on to something else. He's also been writing it for quite a while.
He has been. Hmm, it's I have the last one here. Yeah, it'll end on 22 for him, and they're trading it over to someone else. So it'll still go on. It'll still be good. It just won't be Fraction anymore, and it won't be Age anymore. And so it'll be an adjustment to have a new writer and a new artist for this book.
Yeah, well, and you say that it doesn't mean it won't be any good, and that's right. You know, it might still be good, but it's not. I mean, Fraction kind of. You know, this has all been Fraction.
It's going to be kind of like having a new doctor on Doctor Who. Just because you loved the old one doesn't mean that the new one's not going to suck. It's just going to be a weird adjustment until you get used to it.
That's true. That is true, and I guess we'll see what happens. I'll continue reading it at least for a little while.
I'll give it the 2 or 3 issue test to see if I want to keep reading it once I turn it over.
Yeah. And I see that you read The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
Yes.
So you're actually reading Squirrel Girl?
I have the first 2 of that. I'm going to get the 3rd one because, like I said, I've got like a 2 or 3 issue test that I like to do. So far, Squirrel Girl is cute and it's funny, and there's a lot of little sly winks and everything at the reader, and it's incredibly goofy. I'm not used to such a comical comic book, if that makes sense. So I don't know if I'll keep it, but it's fun so far, and it's nice to have a comic that does feature around a female character, even if it is a completely goofy one like Squirrel Girl. So
Well,
I'm giving it a shot even just for that.
Have you read any of the new Harley Quinn books over on the DC side of things?
No, I keep hearing that I should, and I've seen little bits and pieces on Tumblr. I, for the most part, like the character of Harley Quinn. I just kind of hardly ever wander over to the DC wall when I'm at the shop. I am a Marvel girl for the most part, with a little bit of Image and Dark Horse in there.
I understand that completely, and I've only started getting into the. I started kind of getting into the DC stuff more with the New 52. I started reading a lot of those, and then I dropped a lot of those. But now I'm reading almost all my stuff digitally instead of going to the comic shop because I can get them quicker, and I don't have all the stacks of paper sitting around anymore. You know, when yeah, I've got 6 long boxes down in my basement right now that are stuffed full, and I've got another stack sitting up on my shelf above me here that need to be bagged and boarded and put into a long box, except I don't have a long box to put them in. So it's now I'm getting in trouble because I'm taking up more space than my wife's cooking gadgets. So
yeah, that'll get you.
yeah, so until she gives me more another room or a bigger house, I'm gonna have to start cutting back on my hard copies. So
some of them might not be classic Dems that you want to keep forever.
yeah, and that's what right now I've been trying to. I've kind of weaned off of the ones that I don't want to collect, and just doing the series that I'm big into, trying to collect all of, which is getting rather expensive, getting back issues of stuff. But yeah, back to the Harley Quinn thing. You should definitely check it out if you like Squirrel Girl, because it's a that they seem like very similar writing styles. So this goofy, just kind of almost silly antic stuff, it works really well with Harley Quinn, since she's kind of the, yeah, that's just who she is. Joker's sidekick, and just kind of not necessarily almost ditzy, but she comes off ditzy, but is actually really smart and knows what she's doing. So it's a lot of fun, and it's very very Deadpool-esque, with breaking the fourth wall and talking to the readers and that kind of stuff. So
that sounds like fun, and there is, if I remember correctly, a little bit of not quite breaking the fourth wall in Squirrel Girl, but a little bit. So I don't know if you've been checking that one out, but it could be fun. I'll reverse that. If you like Harley, you might like Squirrel Girl.
yeah, I've got Squirrel Girl on my list. I just haven't made it to it yet.
I understand. I've got a whole stack of things that I still need to read, catch up on, because I basically didn't read what I had purchased for about 2 to 3 months, which is why you've seen so many reviews just go up on my blog lately, is me just catching up.
Yeah, I know the feeling, because I actually just went through yesterday on my computer and said, oh, you know what, I don't have any comic books from the end of December or the beginning of January, so that's where I'm at right now. So let's see, I wanted to get your take as a female guest on here.
Yeah.
And we don't have a whole lot of these, because most of the time Kip and I just scare the girls off, so they won't talk to us. So I'm kind of glad you're here.
God bribed me with food and fun. So.
Yeah, he's good at that. That's what he's here for.
That's all I do. And, since I read so many comics, like one a year, I really have a lot.
Long, nuanced discussions about comics at dinner.
Well,
who has the long discussions?
Me and her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's.
There go Hawkeye.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Holly can talk about Hawkeye forever.
Specifically,
So, okay, my question for you is, how do you feel, or do you feel that writers and publishers are trying to create more strong female leads? We talked about Squirrel Girl and Harley Quinn.
Yep.
They've got a couple others out there, like Miss Marvel, She-Hulk.
Captain Marvel, She-Hulk, Black Widow. There's a Storm title and an Elektra title, which I don't read either of those. Maybe I should. There's Buffy. There's Velvet.
Peggy Carter.
Fabulous. Agent Carter. It wasn't like a extended thing. It was like a collection of older comics and just a new one. So.
Oh really?
Yeah, but the show was so much fun. I had a little marathon on that and caught up on the first, I think, 4 or 5 episodes in one evening. And watch Agent Carter.
Oh yes, Agent Carter's really good. I'm loving that. But so do you feel like the publishers are trying to do this more, or do you think they're doing a good job with it?
I think they are trying more. I'm not certain how good of a job they're doing overall, just because they do still seem to be beginning on this, and they're definitely doing a better job of putting titles out there that are centered on women, and the titles that I am reading that are centered on women, they're doing a good job of making sure that the storyline makes sense, that it is something that a woman might actually say or that a woman might actually do. I think what I have noticed, at least, is when they have the stories going, they do a good job. It is getting to the point of having the stories going and of having the artwork not be completely gross and creepy like that Spider-Woman cover from months ago. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where it's like, how did she even move her back like that? They even have people try and pose like that, and it doesn't work. So I found that a lot of what I do read that I do enjoy, it is they're not focusing on making the women characters all TNA. They're trying to make them actual people, and I think that's where they're succeeding, is when they make them actual people. It's when they're trying to make them, oh, well, you know, she's hot and she will do stuff, whatever. They don't try and actually flesh out the character. I think that's where they're failing.
Right. So how many of those strong female leads that you're reading now are written by female writers?
Let's see here. Saga, it has Fiona Staples on it.
Mm-hmm.
Captain Marvel has Kelly Sue DeConnick on it. She-Hulk does not have a woman writer. Black Widow does not. Ms. Marvel, yes, has a female writer, Willow Wilson. Yay, good for her.
Can you tell the difference?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Honestly, the important thing about writing women is for people. So as long as you're writing a fully fleshed person, it really shouldn't matter too much whether it's a dude writing it or a woman writing it, as long as you are saying, this is a person who has motivation for what they're doing, they have their own opinions, they have their own way of looking at things. As long as you keep that in mind and you don't just and then she went along and she's like, oh my gosh, Johnny's so hot. It should be okay. I think that the Ms. Marvel title, I can tell that there is a female writer involved for sure, just because it is difficult to capture what it is like to be an adolescent girl going through life changes, which is really what this is about. She's a teenager, and holy shit, her body's changing. And technically it's her body's changing because, she's gotten these embiggening powers and she can heal herself and things like that. But, it could certainly be looked at as a metaphor for, becoming a woman and making your own decisions for what you want to be and how you grow up and everything. So.
Yeah, because, they've tried this, the Marvel and DC and some of the, but mainly those two, have always tried to have strong female leads. They've tried the Jean Grey titled books, they've tried Wonder Woman titled books, and they always seem to fall flat. And it almost, to me, felt like, well, they're trying to shove a round peg in a square hole. That's probably a really bad metaphor.
Talking about holes and everything when you're talking about women, maybe not.
That was my bad.
Hey, and I wasn't the one that made the mistake. Let's go ahead and make that public. It wasn't me.
Oh, we're all very proud. If there was this tally board, we'd be making a mark down.
It's not going to be the last mark.
The problem with the ones that you've mentioned is, like Jean Grey, a lot of her stuff ends up coming back to the men in her life.
Right.
Like Scott and Logan and everything, and always ends up, all the drama involving her, all of her actions end up coming back to the dudes, it seems like. And a lot of the ones that I'm reading that I like, I'm enjoying, because it doesn't always come back to the guys. Like I said, again, it comes back to, this is what these women are trying to do, this is what they're trying to take care of, they're trying to take care of their own lives, they're not there in this book to come back to the guys.
Yeah.
Guys are involved, like, Rhodey is Captain Marvel's boyfriend in the book, James Rhodes. But that's an incidental thing, that's part of her life, but it's not the focus of Captain Marvel. The focus of Captain Marvel is she kicks ass and she flies out into space and takes care of things.
I have to check that one out. Sounds good.
It's very good.
So, you had brought up, well, actually, you had brought up, we had brought up Jean Grey and the X-Men, and there's another X-Men title, and it's actually just goes by X-Men. I had to look it up real quick to make sure this was the one. But this one, they're almost trying to run an all-female team in it, which, if you like the X-Men, you should check that one out. But yeah, it's just called X-Men, and it's written by, I think it's Brian Wood.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian Wood is the writer. But it's got the character, it's got Storm, Psylocke, Rachel Grey, which is Jean Grey's daughter from another future different, come back to the past, time travel-y stuff. And then Jubilee and Monet, and or Monette, I'm not sure which way they want it pronounced. It's an interesting story because it kind of takes these characters that none of them really are stand alone by themselves, other than really Storm, and just kind of thrown this group of almost like a makeshift team together, and it's kind of stuck. It's actually really good. It's one of the books that I'm constantly reading now. It's one of the few books that I'm actually caught up on.
Good.
So that must mean something. But so there's a recommendation for you.
Mm-hmm.
But earlier you had brought up Saga. So let's talk a little bit about Saga. How far are you in that, and what do you think?
I knew you were going to ask me about that, so I read the last 2 issues, which I was behind on, before this started, just so I would be caught up, and it's going to be so long until she sees her dad. That's so sad. That's really the first thing I think.
Yeah.
Like, poor kiddo. And it's been interesting to see how all the different threads are tying together in Saga, and I can't remember names right now, which is terrible, but the green hunchback alien lady, she seems to be a whole lot of trouble. And, I just want them to have 6 issues come out all at once so I can read a whole lot and one big chunk and be happy.
I blew through probably 10 or 12 issues in just a couple of days. Like, I just flew through them because, one, the issues read really quick, which is kind of nice. But the way Brian K. Vaughan writes, it's just incredible how he ties everything together and kind of just bounces around from one story to the next, and you're like, why is this even happening, and why is he talking about these?
And who is this, and why?
Yeah, he seems to bring everything together at different times, so it's not like, you're waiting to the very end and then all the loose ends are tied up. It's just he ties one up and unties another one as he goes. It's very. I see some of the writing style is very similar to Why the Last Man. Have you read that one?
I have not read that one. I've got a copy of it around here somewhere, waiting for me to get my butt and find time to read.
You should just let him finish Saga first,
okay,
then jump into that one. Because if you try to go back and forth between those two, you are probably going to drive yourself insane. because they are very, very similar in writing styles, completely different topics, but very similar writing styles. And I feel there's times when I'm reading Saga, which I have to stop and go, wait a sec, that's right, this is Saga. This is dealing with aliens on another planet, and not, people here on Earth, because he does such a good job of relating everything. I recommend it, but finish Saga first, because otherwise it might get all mixed up for you.
No, all right.
No, I was trying to describe Saga to a friend of mine, and I basically told him the only way I could really describe it was it's a Romeo and Juliet story, but they don't die yet.
Yes. I think the yet is probably going to be important in there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely Romeo and Juliet in space with a baby and
the whole story is told from the baby's perspective, which is
cool.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, the little blurbs and excerpts that he puts in there, and I mean, I'm assuming it's coming from the baby. It would make sense to the baby.
From the baby. I'm almost positive it's coming from the baby.
So yeah, and it's just, I don't know. I like it. I think it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and I would also add soap opera into your description a little bit, because there is definitely an element of that. There's all the drama and everything.
Yeah, it definitely has a very soap opera-y feel to it.
Yeah, which is probably why it's so addictive, honestly.
Yeah, you can't stop in the middle. You got to know what happens.
Yes, that's what gets people like throwing things at their TV, saying, "Just kiss her already," or what have you. So we've got the same thing going on, but in this book, and it's great.
No, it's really good. Okay, and you are a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
I have seen the movie, have not really watched the TV show, and I haven't read any of the comic books. But so I know nothing. I know very little about this. But what I do know is that this comic book went straight from end of TV show right into the comic book, and it's still going, which is kind of incredible.
Yeah.
So sell me on this. How did that work, and why is it really that good?
Well, for one thing, the end of the show, which I don't know how much I want to tell you. Screw it, it's been around for a while. So the end of the show basically is one of those great resetting points in a story where everything changes from this point. You can't really go back to where you were before, which gives them a great jumping off point for the comic. And then the comic, they get a chance to do a lot of things that they weren't able to do on the TV show for budget constraints. They can have epic fights, they can go into space, they can have different worlds that you can see. So it's really interesting to see familiar characters get an expanded universe. Let's see. The first season, the first arc, gets a little crazy because basically it's Joss Whedon going, holy shit, I can do anything in comics land. And he did that for like 25 or 30 issues or something like that. And it's basically like a TV series, that whole season is. It's like a whole season. So each individual issue is kind of like an episode of TV where you get a little bit of action and it all builds up into one overall thing. So it's really cool how they kept true to the show with that by doing the whole thing that Buffy does, which is you've got an overall big bad for the season, and then you've got little smaller things that might keep you busy throughout each show that it all builds up. which I love that kind of episodic TV where you get that.
Well, it works
little
really
bit.
good in the comic books that way too. Like that's kind of the way comic books. I feel that comic books should be written, and not necessarily this humongous long game that you're playing that's hundreds of issues down the line.
That is annoying, and that's the kind of thing that makes it hard for people to get into comics, because if you have shorter arcs, maybe 6 issues or 12 or 24 or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
you still have a little bit of back history that you need to get into it, but you can just kind of jump in and say, okay, this is what's happening. I don't need to go back and read 50 issues to have an idea of what the hell's going on now.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things that I look at and I think it'd be kind of cool to read about that and get into that book, and it's on issue 67, or I could go and read something else. Something starting new.
Yeah, I understand that. I've run across that a couple of times, and it's like, well, I do it now. I even have the books, and I go, oh, wait a sec, I'm 12 issues behind on this title. I think I might wait and read something that I'm a little more up to date on, so I don't have to so I don't have to sit there and go, oh, and try to cram through 12 issues in one night. So
I don't know, it's kind of nice to have like 12 issues stacked up for one thing. So that's basically like reading a softcover collection or something like that. Just like,
yeah, it's if I've got the time to do it, I'm definitely in for it. A lot of the times, though, my comic book reading doesn't start until 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, and so I'm not getting through 12 issues of anything that late at night.
well, that doesn't sound too bad to me, but then again, I don't go to bed until like 2, so...
Oh, my kids are getting up at 5:36, so
Oh,
yeah,
That's
I
a
can't
pretty
be.
specific time that they get up,
It's a
5:36.
very specific time.
It's because for some reason they get up at specific times. They don't know how to sleep in, and it's ridiculous.
Someday they will sleep in, and by then they'll have trained you to wake up early, and you're just like, it's 6:30 in the morning. Why isn't everyone up? It's a beautiful day.
Yeah, I'm gonna be that guy sitting on my porch drinking a Mountain Dew at 5 o'clock in the morning, reading a comic book. That's gonna be me.
That will be your comic book reading time. Like, screw it, the kids are asleep, I can read.
Yeah.
He's going to be drinking a prune juice and complaining that the type is too small and he can't see it. That's what's going to happen.
Or if he's reading it online, he'll just, really enlarge it a lot on his tablet.
That's right. I can zoom in. I don't have that problem yet.
It is one of the benefits to reading them online, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I have noticed, and I've only had these glasses for a little over a year now, but man, I can sure tell a difference now that I wear these glasses while I'm reading the small print of a comic book. Like, man, those were hard to read before, and I thought it was just me not being able, them making the font even smaller. Nope, it was just because I was going blind.
You're just blind. I understand
I have to take my glasses off to read that stuff. It's sad.
Oh, that's the other side of bad eyes.
Yeah.
Which will come soon.
But that way I can at least put it right up against my face and I have more control.
Right, you've got all the control that you can get when it's like right here.
Yes. That's what I tell myself. All right, since I've been very quiet, I'm going to ask some questions.
Yeah.
So you guys were just talking about how long runs of comics kind of hurt the readership. It's like, well, I could start on episode or issue 67, or I could just start something new.
Mm-hmm.
Well, coming from a guy who's been wanting to get into it, but for reasons you just mentioned, it's a little daunting, where would you suggest a person start? That's for both of you, by the way.
Well, as far as Saga goes, you start by saying, hey, Christy, can I borrow your 3 books of Saga and your back issues?
Hey, Christy, can I borrow your...
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I would actually do the same thing there. However, I have the unfortunate thing, since most of my stuff is digital, that is one downside to digital, is a lot harder to share. Um, but what I would say is I would find a character or a group that you like, and then and then talk to Christy or myself, and we'll find you when that arc starts, and then you could just jump in at the beginning of one of those. Then you
Well,
don't
let's pretend
necessarily
the
need.
person that wants to answer this question isn't me.
What if the
If it's
person?
not you, go to
That
your
can't
comic
ask
book
Christy
shop.
or Morph.
Your local comic shop will be able to help you out with that. If you have something that you want to read, let's say it's well, let's just go with some of the titles we've talked about. What if it's Miss Marvel that you want to read more about? You walk into your comic shop and tell them you want to read Miss Marvel, but you don't know where to start. They will, if it's a good comic shop. I gotta preface that because there are some comic shops out there that won't give a shit. But if it's a good shop, they will be able to tell you should start. If you don't want to go all the way back to the beginning, this is a perfect spot to start.
Mhm. And they might also point you to collections. Like, that's how I got into a few of the ones I read is I would pick up a collection that has maybe 6 or 8 issues bound together in one. That's actually how I got into Saga. Was a friend said, "You're not reading that?" And then he got me the first 3 books because he was just horrified that I was not reading Saga. So um, it helps to maybe find a book with maybe the most recent book collection of the stories to kind of give you a good arc to get into, and because those will typically cover like a arc in the comics, and it'll also give you an idea. Do you like the writer's style? Do you like the art style? Do you want to keep reading this? And then if you do, then you can go to the store and you can say, okay, I need all the issues after this so I can get caught up to where we currently are because I need to know what's going on. Or you can say, oh, I didn't like this. It's time for putting my money on something else, and this goes into the half-price books pile.
Yep,
Gotcha.
that's a good point. The trades are a really good place if you're just looking for if you're looking for a place to start. Those are a really good place to start. I've done that with a few titles. That's how I actually got into Green Lantern before the New 52 started. I did not. This was before the New 52 was announced, so otherwise I wouldn't have wasted my money on buying all those trades. But they were pretty good, so I got caught up with and got the Sinestro Corps Wars, or Sinestro Wars, or whatever that was called, with Green Lantern, and that actually got me enough background into Green Lantern that I could jump in and start picking up the more current titles, or the more current books, and kind of did just what Christy said. That worked out really well. So yes, that's a great suggestion.
Go me.
Yeah, I snagged a couple trades from my local library, and that got me started. I found out that I actually like the more serious non-superhero types. Like I read one about Jeffrey Dahmer, so because I'm a weirdo, and so I've been kind of leaning more towards that direction, more of not the superhero type. You guys read any of those?
For not the superhero types,
Yeah.
you might want to check out Velvet, which is about a, shockingly enough, it's another title about a woman. She is a retired spy who gets back into the game. So there is some action involved, but it's not superhero action. It's not anything where she's going to do anything that most normal people can't do. If you're trained for it, you can do it. But it's great because it is. I also really like it because it's about an older character. She's in her, I want to say, 40s or something like that. So she's going
God,
around.
that is old.
I know, it's ancient, isn't it?
Oh, man.
Oh,
That's brutal. That's brutal.
Well, I say old for comics and for really women in the spotlight in general. Sadly, 40 is old.
All right, well, the podcast is over. Good night, everybody.
They all look like they're in their teens or their 20s.
Yeah,
And
Kip's,
she's actually
Kip's
got,
gonna have to go to bed soon.
Yeah, it's way past my bedtime.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go with Christy's suggestions here because I'm looking through my titles and I don't have Jack. And
Well, get
unless
Jack, then.
yeah, unless you want to go with something and it's still see a lot of the stuff that I have that would kind of be as close to non-superhero as I could go would be some of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips stuff. Like Incognito and what's some of the other ones that they did? Sleeper, Criminal. These still take place with superhero people or like the super powered people. So people have abilities, but it's written in more of a noir, like a film noir or a crime noir type storytelling. So. It's a lot of dark, gritty type sceneries and settings, but I like them. I think they're really good. That's about as close as I get as the non-superhero.
I just thought of two more. If you want to go for non-superhero and you like the noir thing, American Vampire.
Actually, I've read that. I liked it.
Yeah, that would be maybe something to pick back up on if you already read it and liked it.
I need that one.
It's a good one. And Pretty Deadly, which is another one by Kelly Sue DeConnick, and I don't know if it's going to continue on or not, but it's Western and it's kind of fairy tale and it's very creepy. It's narrated by a dead rabbit. This gives you an idea of the oddness of it, but the artwork is fabulous, and it's a sad story, but it's good all the same, and I'm not giving a very good description at all, but seriously, I'll bring my copy of that when I bring Saga to you so that you can read it, because I think it's great, and you should check it out.
Well, and I will mention one more for you, and Kip, I'm pretty sure you've read at least some of these because I think I gave you my books to read, but Christy might not have, and it's called Lock and Key.
Yes, you did loan me one of the trades on that one, and I did read that, and I liked it.
That is a finished story now. They're all the books are out and done with. I believe they're all in trades. You might even be able to find a collection that will have all of them. You're looking at see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you're looking at probably 40 or 50 issues in a single collection if they were to combine them all together. But it is really good. Christy, have you heard anything about this one?
I have heard of it. I have not read it. I am going to remember to look that up after this, though.
Yes, you definitely should. This is Lock and Key is written by Joe Hill with art by Gabriel Rodriguez. And Joe Hill, for in case you don't know, is Stephen King's son. So it is written like very you can feel Stephen King's influence in the entire title. So if you like Stephen King, I definitely recommend it. And it's not unlike a lot of Stephen King's comic books, those were prose turned into comic books. This is written specifically as a comic book. So it doesn't feel like there's too much of the prose, big text blocks just thrown in there because it needs to be there.
Oh, so you read the Gunslinger comics then?
I tried.
Yeah.
I tried to read the comics and got fed up with those, so I tried to read the actual prose and then couldn't even read that one. So,
it's just as well, because once you get to the end of the series, you'll want to throw whatever you're reading it on against the wall and pass out Stephen King. That's true.
All right, good to know. Well, then I won't worry about trying to get through that eventually.
There is actual author self-insertion into that story.
Oh, jeez.
He writes himself into the story.
Well, yeah, that's not good. That's not good. There's a couple of one-shots for Lock and Key that I just realized. I know I have them in hard copy because I have all of the Lock and Key in hard copy. But one of the one-shots is really, really good, and it actually kind of tugs at your heartstrings a little bit, which is kind of odd for a horror type story. But it is about, I'm trying to find the name of it. It's called Open the Moon, and the whole story is kind of told. Well, the premise of Lock and Key is that there's these keys that are out there, and all these keys have special powers. So there's a head key that allows you to take, and you can put it in the back of your head, unlock your head, and you can pull out your memories or put memories back in your head.
Okay.
You can actually look inside your head while you're, it kind of gives you a third person type thing, so you can see, in this one shot, there is a key that basically gets you access to the moon. And you find out that by going to the moon, time passes differently. So the whole story is about the relationship between the dad and this child, and the child is dying, and the dad doesn't want to let him go, so he gives him this key and takes him to the moon and basically exiles the kid to the moon so he won't die, because if he comes back to Earth, he'll die. And it's sad, it's dark, but it is really, really well done, and it is. If you don't want to read any of the other ones, you should just read that book, because it just shows how good of a writer Joe Hill is, and that he deserves a lot more credit than he gets. So
definitely have to look that one up.
There's my selling point.
Opinions expressed on this show are not.
No, they're pretty much all mine, and I'm very opinionated.
Absolutely. Hey, by the way, I'm buying my tickets for Planet Comic-Con this weekend, so you still up?
Oh yeah, I do need to do that. Christy, you want to go to Planet Comic-Con?
I already have my tickets.
Oh, look at that. She's going to be there.
I am. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I need to get my tickets. I've been putting it off, and now I have no reason not to, so I need to go do that.
It's more expensive if you have to buy them at the gate, so you should get on that.
Yep.
You guys going all 3 days? Or are you just going to go one day? Or?
I'm just going to go Saturday.
Yeah, I don't have enough free time to go all 3 days. I'm pretty sure my wife would shoot me. So
let's test this theory.
No, let's not. I don't want to be dead yet. I got a little bit more things to do. I at least want to get through.
He's got a lot of comics to read. He can't
I do. I need to catch up on my comics. Then we can risk my life.
Good deal.
It's a deal.
So, Christy, last topic here.
Sure.
50 Shades of Grey. Tell tell us about your 50 Shades of Grey and your people should donate to domestic violence instead of, or they should donate to prevention of domestic violence.
Yes, important to
Donate to it. Come on.
There are enough people donating domestic violence into the world every day. I don't think we need to, step it up. No, it's just, as pointed out earlier, I have not read the books, but you know what? Honestly, I was told you are not allowed to make fun of Twilight until you've read the books, and I read the books, and sure thing, they sucked just as much as I could tell from reading the excerpts. So I'm going to go on that theory this time around because I read just enough of 50 Shades to know that it's frankly rather crappy fan fiction that, like I said, had been Hunton replaced the names with different names. Actually, if you check it out, apparently like 89% of it is the same as a fan fiction that she basically wrote previously and adulterated and made into this new story, which is now on a lot of people's bedside tables, which is great in one way because I am all about getting into reading more. I think more people should be reading. I think books are definitely not dead. You should be reading as much as you can whenever you can. I am a bookworm. And if you want to read about sex, that's awesome. Read about sex. But if you're going to read about BDSM, then you should be reading about proper BDSM techniques, or not techniques, but protocol. A lot of what is done in 50 Shades is basically domestic violence wrapped up in BDSM with the layer on it, which is actually not uncommon, a way of getting people into bad relationships and saying, oh, BDSM, it's just because I like to spank you, honey. And the important thing with that is, with BDSM, there is consent, very important. A lot of what happens is actually talked out ahead of time and kind of planned out. It's not, by the way, I missed you now, or anything like that. It's talked about ahead of time, and then you go through it, and then the Dom is supposed to bring the sub down and out of it, and not just walk out and abandon someone traumatized after a session, as Christian Grey does at least once in the books and I believe the movie. Not cool. Also, side note, not part of the scene. I just read people who are in the scene talk about it, and their opinion is basically 50 Shades of Grey is crap. Please let us suggest many better BDSM stories if you would like to get into this.
So you're saying you're not an expert?
I am not an expert. However, apparently I know more than E.L. James has. I at least know how to find a fucking Wikipedia page. Call me crazy.
I love it.
Yeah, let me Google that for you.
Right, exactly. What is actually involved in the contract? How am I supposed to treat my submissive?
Oh, that's great.
All things you can look up easily, but no. So,
now, why do the research?
Research is boring. And, I totally get all the people who are like, but it's just fantasy, and that's fine. I totally get fantasy and wanting to read about fantasy and having that, but I'm just so worried because that is not a good way of getting someone into reading about BDSM, about reading about all that stuff.
Well, it almost sounds like you could have the same problem. The same people who have a problem with violent video games because that promotes people to, to go out and shoot people should have the same problems here with these books, in the sense that this is promoting, they're not promoting, but this is giving you bad influence on what you should be doing if you're into that, and
Yeah,
cause, lead
and I
to
can,
more domestic violence.
yeah, and I can see how it's like, but it's not real. It's a video game. It's totally the same thing as it's not real. It's a book, and I get that. However, I do think that domestic violence is a huge problem that we have, and a lot of people don't talk about it, and a lot of people don't even necessarily recognize when it's happening to them. It's just, oh, well, he's just in a bad mood, or what do you mean he's being manipulative, or what do you mean she's treating me badly? Because a lot of it is people get sensitized into believing that what is happening to them is appropriate and it's real, and this is love, damn it. What's wrong with, the fact that they want to know where I am all the time? They want to be able to track my every waking moment. It's so romantic. He loves me. Crap. And I just don't like seeing it being treated as this big romantic fucking Valentine's Day movie where people are going to this on dates, and I don't want women seeing that or men seeing that and going home thinking, well, that's how it worked there, so let's keep going and see how it goes without necessarily looking it up. And, if you want to enjoy the movie, I do hear some of the sex scenes are hot. If you want to enjoy the book, if that's what you want, is you're welcome into it, sure, but just go into it with a bit of a critical eye. And again, there's better writing out there, and there's better softcore porn movies out there that you could be really into. I mean, go on Netflix. There's a whole section on there for that.
There you go, Kip. You weren't the first one to bring up porn either.
I know. I'm off my game or something. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I know.
Well, you bring up a really good point, and it's kind of I'm probably the biggest person to argue against, or that, to argue the side of, violent video games aren't what causes people to kill other people. It's the education that's involved with that. If somebody is, you could take a 10-year-old, and as long as he understands what he is playing in the video game that he is playing, that it's make-believe and you cannot do what you do in that game in real life, then that's okay. But I think you're right in the idea, because domestic violence is not talked about, and this is such a close-knit group that partakes, that's in that circle, that does this stuff, that people are going to look at this and not understand that this is make-believe, and that you cannot do this without repercussions.
Right.
That there is a right way to do that. So I completely get what you're saying.
And like you said with the kid and video games and everything, they are getting other examples in their world about this is not appropriate, this is not actually how we behave in real life. But a lot of the media that we already see on a day-to-day basis does objectify women a lot and everything, and so it's important to keep that in mind when saying that 50 Shades of Grey is great and it's sexy and it's awesome, because it may be, but it's also kind of hooking into that we're not necessarily looking at things and saying you should be treating women well, you should be treating your partner well, just in general, male or female, and things are getting better on that, but it's still something that needs a lot of work, and until we can just have everyone read that and say, like, oh, well, I can see that this is crap. I mean, it's hot, but it's crap. If more people were able to do that, it's one thing, but I've talked to some people who that was the first book they had picked up to read in probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And so, no. I've actually told people I will find you better things to read.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a whole other podcast right there.
Well, Christy, I want to thank you for coming on. Where can people find you? What's the best way for them to follow you?
I am probably most prolific on Twitter, but I am also on Tumblr and Instagram and my blog. And basically, if you search for Angel Chris, ANGELCHRYS, you're going to find me. So, oh god, I just realized, who knows what you're going to find with that. It's all going to come back to me, but who knows what you're going to find that comes back to me. Scary. Twitter is probably the best way to find me if you want to talk or have a reaction to anything I said or anything like that.
Oh, I had to Google you just to see what comes up here. Twitter's first. Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Your blog is third, so there's your top three. Do you have a music profile
What's
on
that?
last.fm?
Yep.
Then that's on there.
Music taste I have. Congratulations.
Your Tumblr blog's on there, so you're pretty good. We don't have anything too crazy. You do have some deviant art.
Oh, back in the beginnings of my internet time when I thought that I was ever going to be any decent as an artist.
Well, that's out there, so just let you know. You're pretty good. The first page seems to be all legit. Nothing too crazy for you.
Oh, good. Go me.
Now we'll go
One
to
of the
like
links. One of the links is celebrity nude photos leaked. So was that you?
Well, you know, I am a celebrity.
All right, so everybody go follow Christy on her blog and on Twitter. Go follow her everywhere because she's awesome. And
Just follow her.
Yeah, just follow her, stalk her.
That's what the internet has told me.
Don't
stalk me. I'd really rather you didn't show up at my home or my place of business, or I'm just hanging out. Scary.
Just whatever you do, don't look out the window behind you. Keep those blinds closed. The people standing out there are nothing. They are just furniture.
They're just extras.
I will notify the attack cats.
Yeah, there you go. All right, you guys can follow us at our normal spots. We have a blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. It's pretty much just to find the feeds of this because I don't write anything because apparently I don't have time, but I want to, so maybe I will someday. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at GeekVice. You can follow Kip at Kip Killigan. You can find us on Google Plus and Facebook. Go like our pages, or one up our pages, or plus one our pages, or whatever Google's retarded thing is now. Other than that, you can you can email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Email us and tell us why which comic books you think were full of crap and shouldn't be reading, or which ones that we missed in our section here and that we should go read. And I'll be sure to pass these along to Christy. So, other than that, any last words from either of you?
Negative.
That's it. We'll call it a night. See you next week.
Bye, guys.